So now I'm really excited to bring my good friend Mike Rockwell up on stage, who is the creator of the Vision Pro. Let's bring Mike out. How are you, my friend?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Have a seat. Hey, before we get started, I just want to find out, is it your birthday? Because that's the rule.
Nope.
All right, that's too bad.
Sorry. I'll fix that next time.
Can we do that? Before we get started, I just wanted to make sure, I have a hypothesis.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure if this is true, but I'm pretty certain it's true. But I think that the Jeetu Patel family contributes a very large portion of EPS for Apple. And so,
we track that, and
so can you just see if you can put in a good word for some discounts? Because I don't get any discounts. I pay full retail price for Apple.
I appreciate that. I'll talk to Tim about it.
Okay, thank you. So, as you know, we are long-standing partners. We've had a multi-year relationship with Apple. You and I have been working now very closely for a few years as well. And what you've done with the Apple Vision Pro is truly remarkable. But if I were to think about why this partnership works so well, it's because I think we have a common set of shared values that we're both pretty obsessive about.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Apple and Cisco have worked together for years. We depend on your technology to help us build the products. So the relationship is deep. It's across, we're a customer, you're a developer, and of course, we're a technology partner. And so it's been, it's been amazing. We use Cisco, we use Webex every day, and we used it a lot in the development of Vision Pro, especially during COVID. We've got tens of thousands of users, as well as thousands of conference rooms that are set up.
Did you like some of the new features?
Absolutely, loved it.
Now's the time to do
So apparently you drink out of my water that has the...
It's Mike Rockwell. Why don't you drink out of Fareed's water?
I will drink out of Fareed's water. So we'll just basically completely screw it up here.
So Mike, tell us a little bit about the origin of the story of Vision Pro. I know that you were working for several years, and the thing that's magical is it was the same team that actually stuck with the mission on a very, very difficult project to bring to life. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Vision Pro, we had an idea that we could build something that would really be transformative. We had looked at a lot of the technology and products that had been developed, by different companies, and we felt that it was missing some key components. One of which was that the displays were just not high enough resolution to be useful. They were great for gaming or for other applications, but you couldn't use them for productivity. You couldn't use them as an actual tool. And so we had to invent entirely new display technology for the product. And that one decision then cascaded through a whole slew of inventions that we had to make. And if you look at Vision Pro, basically nothing in Vision Pro wasn't designed by Apple, except for maybe the capacitors and the resistors. Literally everything else, down to the screws, were designed by the team because it was the only way that we could build a product that had the capability to deliver the vision that we have.
This to me was crazy, that you designed your own screws.
We do, yes. Well, we had to make them as lightweight as possible. I mean, literally, if you open up a Vision Pro, you'll see that it's got carbon fiber and magnesium. It's actually sort of like an F1 sports car inside because we wanted to reduce the weight to the maximum extent possible and still, again, be able to deliver the kinds of experiences that we deliver.
That's amazing. So in your mind, how do these spatial experiences start to augment the way that we do work right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So spatial computing fundamentally is about giving you a display that has an infinite canvas onto which you can put anything you want to do. Now, that could be just taking the monitor from your Mac and bringing it in so that if you've got a small laptop screen and you're on the road, you can now have a 4K monitor, or coming this fall, actually the equivalent of 2 5K monitors inside of Vision Pro. The other thing is
did Apple just pre-announce something at WebexOne?
No, we announced it. We announced it at WWDC.
I was just going to say, this would be like the first.
We're actually shipping that in December, so it's coming soon, and we're super excited.
I don't feel that special then. That's great.
I will actually talk about something on audio that I haven't talked about anywhere else. So we will tell you a little bit about something here that my PR folks are going to freak out about, but we'll see on that. But the other thing was we wanted it to be a product that allowed you to connect at a distance. And of course, when you're wearing a device, you have to have some way that you can be represented digitally. And so we had to invent a new way to do that. And we invented something called personas, which are an extremely accurate likeness of you that you can use inside of a WebEx meeting, inside of FaceTime. And we do that with a very simple process of the device scans you, and it is very authentic. We have cameras that look at your eyes and at your face, and so it's not guessing what your facial expressions are. They're exactly what your facial expressions are.
What's a little disturbing to me is I look better in my avatar on Vision Pro than I do in real life.
No comment on that one.
And so if you think about, you know, we were talking about this backstage with Alex, where one of the big kind of use cases that people have is just having this infinite canvas for things like travel. And
yes,
you know, we have a small computer. You don't have to actually worry about not being able to have an infinite screen display.
Yeah.
Is that an area that you're seeing hugely kind of?
Absolutely. It turns out to be one of the big use cases for Vision Pro is folks might have a MacBook Air, super lightweight product, you know, small screen, and that's fantastic. But if you're traveling, you want to do, you know, have a big presentation, or you want to have multiple windows up, and you can do all that in Vision Pro, but you still have the small laptop. So you can be projecting that into your virtual display. You can still use the keyboard and trackpad. And in fact, Vision Pro brings all of the Apple ecosystem of products together in one place. So you can have iPad apps running in there. You can have native Vision Pro apps, as well as having the Mac. And so it really provides this kind of incredible superpower workspace for folks.
And you're just leveraging all the investments that people have made, and those now just work natively.
Absolutely.
By the way, I don't know if, how many over here have tried the Vision Pro, just with a show of hands? Okay, so it's really, this is one of the challenges that you have. It's really hard to talk about this without trying it. So make sure if you folks get a chance in this event that you try it out, because it'll just be completely, when I first tried it out, you know, like anyone else, I'm always kind of a skeptic on these things. Is it going to fundamentally be a new category of a product? And I told you this, Mike, but you were there in the room, but I teared up because, and people said, this is kind of an extreme reaction, Jeetu, what are you talking about? But the reason that I teared up is because my mother had just passed away a couple of months prior, and when I saw that, and she loved nature, and she loved traveling, and when I saw this for the first time, it looked so realistic. And I'm like, man, if my mom had lived for just a few more years, I would have been able to show her the world without her actually having to leave where she is, where the physical distance would have actually been taken away. It was amazing. So this was clearly a massive engineering feat. Tell us a little bit about how you made this whole thing happen.
Well, a lot of coffee.
Oh, coffee.
No, as I had mentioned before, we had to invent so many new technologies. And so we looked across the technologies that Apple had, and then we were able to leverage those to take things a next step. And you know, in the process, there was invention every step of the way. We actually filed over 5,000 patents in the process of building Vision Pro, and that's because we were just breaking new ground across all dimensions. So we had to build a system that had incredible displays, as I'd mentioned, cameras that allowed you to do pass-through, the processing that's on board, which actually is pretty much the same processor that you get in a MacBook laptop, is on the Vision Pro, as well as there 14 cameras and sensors that track your hands and where you're looking and understand the environment. And all those are brought together by an operating system that is the first product that's actually foundationally based on computer vision, machine learned AI algorithms. So on Vision Pro, we're running 40 algorithms in real time to be able to do your input, because you can do input just by moving your hands around and doing hand tracking, as well as where you're looking. And it feels magical. It feels like it's reading your mind. So we had to innovate across a whole range of dimensions. And actually, the one thing I was going to talk about is audio. So this is something we haven't really talked about in Vision Pro. It wasn't in any of the announcements. But there is a very sophisticated multi-microphone array in Vision Pro that when you are using the audio system for doing video conferencing or collaboration, it is so good at noise rejection. It actually creates a beam-formed area around your mouth that is so good that you can have the dog literally sitting next to you, barking at its full volume, the baby sitting next to you, crying at full volume, and having, you know, a bus driving by, and the folks on the other end can't hear any of that at all. So with the combination of the personas where you get to set your background, you literally can be working from anywhere and be on a call, and nobody on the other side will have any idea that all of that other stuff's going on.
Now, when we were talking about this, I'd asked you for advice saying, hey, what is it that we could do that is uniquely Cisco? And I distinctly remember we were sitting in your office,
yes.
And this, in fact, I think the credit for this idea of what we announced today that Snora and team actually talked about, the Project Nevada, came from you, and we then just executed. So this is great. We're kind of outsourcing ideas to Apple, so that's fantastic.
I don't know about that.
But tell us a little bit about why that is so important in this entire ecosystem.
Well, so you made the comment, the story about your mom earlier, and we learned in the process of creating Vision Pro that spatial imagery has a profound impact on you emotionally. It connects you in a way that just doesn't happen when you look at a flat 2D screen. And so when we were talking about what could we do together, of course, if you're Vision Pro to Vision Pro, you can do something. But one of the big challenges is you have somebody who is connecting into a conference, and maybe there's a conference room there and it's got 10 people in it. Well, the experience remotely from that, if you're on a small laptop screen, can really be quite challenging because you have, a little video window and then maybe the presentation up. And so we thought, well, if you could do spatial images from the conference room, and inside of Vision Pro, they can be huge. They can actually be life-size, like you're truly looking through a window into that conference room, almost as if you're sitting there. It would profoundly change that experience. And we had just done a feature for the phone where you could do spatial capture with a couple of cameras. And we were chatting with the team over, as we got together, and saw that your conference room devices had more than one camera. And so we asked the question, would there be some way to use those two cameras, not just to get wider field of view, but actually generate a 3D stereo image? And your folks went back and, to their credit, looked at it and figured out a way to do that.
That man right there, Snora Jasbu, is...
Yes. And the experience is absolutely astounding. It feels like you're there. And it takes you so close to being there that you're able to, one, at life size, those images, you're able to see all of the folks' facial expressions, all of their body language, all of the natural things you see when you're in the room together, you can now do from a hotel room, across the world. And it profoundly changes that experience.
And the beauty is, you don't have to upgrade your conference room infrastructure because it's a software update. And so if you happen to have, a certain class or a family of products already installed, you just do a software update. Now you have spatial video being transmitted, and you now have 3D capability fully in that room. With depth perception, with stereoscopic view, all of those things that otherwise would have been hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of infrastructure overall, You now just get it by doing a simple software upgrade. That's the magic of it all.
Yeah, it's completely amazing.
So I could keep talking to you, but we're out of time. But what's the thing that you're really excited about as we move forward?
Well, I mean, we're at the beginning of this journey, and it's already incredible what you can do. But when you think about how you can collaborate, how you can do design, reviews, how you can do education, there's a whole slew of applications where spatial conferencing takes it to an entirely other level. And I'm very excited about that. We're going to be able to bring folks together in a way that just hasn't been possible before and erase those distances. And I just am excited about what we can do together.
Mike, will you come back to WebexOne?
I will happily do that.
Thank you, folks. Mike Rockwell.
Thank you.
Apple. Thank you so much. All right, we have a next very special guest. Alex from Scale.ai. Let's give it up for Alex. All right, buddy.
Great. A lot of people here.
A lot of people here.
A lot of people here.
That's only a tenth of the audience. Most of them are online. So before we get started, can you tell everyone about what Scale is? And it's one of the most amazing companies. You and I met in Davos last January, and it took about 60 seconds for me to say, we got to partner with these folks, and we are actually the largest strategic investor in Scale. We created a $1 billion fund, and Scale is one of the first investments, or one of the first few investments we made there. But tell the audience about what the consequence of Scale.ai is.
Yeah, so Scale, we're the data foundry that powers all of the incredibly advanced data that goes into the largest AI projects today, including all of the major large language models. If you kind of take a step back, AI is made up of 3 major components. You have compute, which folks like NVIDIA work on. You have algorithms, which folks like OpenAI or Google or Anthropic build. And then you have data. And our role in the ecosystem is to produce all of the frontier data, all of the very advanced data that goes into the training of these algorithms, and then partner closely with enterprises and governments to enable them to utilize their own proprietary data to build customized AI systems.
And Alex, actually, the way you had talked about this at the recent event that you had last week, and we think there's probably 2 more dimensions around AI, which is one of them is low latency, high performance networking is going to be a 4th dimension, I think, which is going to be really important for back-end intra-GPU communication at low latency. And then the 5th dimension is security, where AI safety is going to be a pretty big deal. So tell us about, you've been within this industry for a long time, all the way back from an autonomous driving was the primary use case for AI. So give a little bit of history. Your background is really interesting. So talk a little bit about how did you decide to found Scale.ai?
Yeah, so I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico, the birthplace of the atomic bomb. I mention that because, I was sort of in context. It is like the most recent technology to artificial intelligence that I think has as deep security and frankly geopolitical implications as artificial intelligence. I mean, what you mentioned about AI safety is definitely very prescient, and something that, at our event we had the folks from the White House who are actively thinking about the technology and put out the executive order, for example, talk about the risks that they see with the technology.
Yep.
But yeah, I grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and then I went to MIT and I studied artificial intelligence, neural networks at the time. And I quickly realized that data was the very clear bottleneck towards building powerful AI systems. And there were plenty
Which today it seems obvious, but back then it was a pretty insightful, kind of counterintuitive thought.
I mean, back then the sort of cutting edge technology was, Google had just released algorithms that could recognize cats in YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so it's staggering. I mean, I started the company in 2016. It's been staggering to see from that moment till now the power of the technology. But yeah, no, I think we recognized early on that data was going to be a limiter, and there was nobody really working on it. And fast forward today, I think to your point, everybody I talk to, whether it's our customers, the major labs like the OpenAIs or the Metas of the world, or large enterprises like Morgan Stanley or MasterCard, or our partnership between Cisco and Scale, I think everybody recognizes that data is gold, and data is going to be what will differentiate and power the next generation of powerful AI capabilities.
And so, as we think about the evolution of AI, we are clearly going towards a path of superintelligence. And you talked about this as well. You've talked about it quite a bit. Walk us through this notion of artificial general intelligence, superintelligence. First, define it for people. And then what do you think the impediments are going to be for us to get there? What are the hurdles that we have to overcome?
Yeah, so first, artificial general intelligence or superintelligence are AI systems that are, for all intents and purposes, as smart or smarter than most humans. So one way to think about this is, if you think about what are all the tasks that humans can do, like all of the various intelligence tasks that humans are capable of, if you can build an automated system that can do, let's say 90% of those tasks, that's probably, artificial general intelligence. We already have AI systems that are better than humans at some things. We have, AI beats humans at chess and Go and most games. AI with recent models like O1 from OpenAI and others, they beat most humans at math capabilities and computer science capabilities and whatnot. But the question is, how general can we make that? How can we make these systems very smart? And to answer this question, I usually like to break down the history of AI into kind of three phases. And we've sort of lived the first two phases, and we're about to sort of embark on this third phase. The first two phases the first phase was really 2012 to 2018, and this was kind of the early R&D cycle. This was the era when, kind of as mentioned, detecting cats in YouTube videos was staggering and spectacular. And there was a lot of tinkering, and nobody really, people I think dreamed of AGI, but it was clearly extremely far. And then in 2018, OpenAI trained the very first GPT model. And there were sort of like these two innovations back to back, the transformer model from Google and then GPT from OpenAI. And that began from 2018 to 2024, what I call the scaling phase. And this was a period where we scaled the size and sort of magnitude and resources of the models roughly 1 million times. We went from GPT to GPT-4, now much further than that. Anthropic just released a new model yesterday. And the amount of computational power that's gone in has grown staggering amounts. The amount of data that's gone in has grown staggering amounts. The requirements on infrastructure, as you mentioned, are incredibly high. The requirements on networking and interconnect and all that are very high. The requirements on and then the algorithms themselves actually mostly stayed the same. And so we've mostly just grown the investment level from the
algorithms have mostly stayed the same as the advancements have happened.
Yeah, for this past era of this past 6 years roughly. And so from 2018, maybe the models cost $1 million or $2 million to train, and now they cost, the investment, the total dollars in by the AI companies and the hyperscalers this year into building the next generation of AI models is north of $200 billion.
$200 billion. Yeah. So just process that for a moment. There's $200 billion being spent on training these models. How much is coming out on the other end on inferencing and making sure that you're actually getting the return from the models that have been trained so far?
Yeah. Well, so by the way, it's important to know. These numbers are just really big. The U.S. defense budget is roughly $800, $900 billion. So $200 billion into training AGI. I mean, this is one of the biggest, human projects of our time. The monetization on the other end is interesting. I think that the, ChatGPT is a breakaway successful product, in the, let's call it like roughly $5 billion a year of annual revenue. That's definitely the most successful product. And I think we, what we're seeing is kind of this mismatch where like you have to invest so far ahead of the future model. So if you look at the amount of investment that went into the models that power ChatGPT today, is in the hundreds of millions. And then the product is generating billions of dollars. What all of the mega tech companies are seeing is, hey, if that relationship holds, then like I have to invest ahead. Obviously there's a competitive dynamic too. I got to invest ahead and then see what comes out the other side. But there's some level of speculation there, right? Like investing $200 million, obviously it's a lot of money. It's hard to get a return on $200 billion. But the belief is that we're in this path to superintelligence.
That's exactly my point. Is most of the use cases haven't fully been realized based on the power of what we're doing with the training of the models. And so you had talked about 5 very interesting things which were going to be impediments to, the path to superintelligence. I'm just going to kind of lay them out, and then you can talk a little bit about a few of them. One of them was we're hitting a data wall, which is we're running out of publicly available data to train the models. And so we need much more what you call frontier data. So that was one. The second one was the evals, the benchmarks are simply saturated. It's not that there's not that much of a differential between the models. It's that the benchmarks aren't sophisticated enough to be able to tell the difference between the models. Number 3 was the future is agentic, which you saw a little bit of an illustration of in what we announced. 4 is chips and energy are going to become a big bottleneck. And 5 is we have to be aware because China is catching up. So talk for a couple sentences in each one of these. How about the data wall?
Yeah, so going through them, the data wall is clear. I mean, we've basically exhausted the entire internet. And so we need new sources of data. There's basically 2 sources of data that are gonna play a role. One is new data that we generate, and this will be very advanced data form. This will be like reasoning data or agentic data or multimodal data or embodied AI, like robotics data. Like it's gonna be the kinds of stuff that you cannot find on the internet and is very, very sophisticated. And then there's private proprietary data. GPT-4 was trained on about 1 petabyte of data, and JP Morgan Chase, just as like one example, has 150 petabytes of data. So the amount of enterprise data that's out there is just enormous.
Orders of magnitude higher. Evals, talk about evals.
Yeah, this I think is like where a lot of risk comes in, which is we are just launching more and more powerful AI systems without any ability to measure how powerful they are. And that, any sci-fi movie will tell you that ends poorly. So I think this was a huge push, for example, from the White House, huge push from the Department of Defense and other areas, which is we need much more sophisticated ability to measure how powerful the AI systems are.
We talked about agents. Any insights on the agent side on making sure that you can automate workflows?
Yeah, I think the exciting thing about agents is that we're going to walk up kind of like how there was level 1 through level 5 of autonomous vehicles, which was really, Tesla autopilot for a long time is sort of like level 2. You still have to pay attention. You still have to like really monitor the situation. But now you have Waymos in San Francisco where you just get in the car, you don't have to do anything, the car drives itself. And I think that's what we're going to see out of agents, which is very exciting, which is, going from something that you really have to pay a lot of attention to towards something that, really just you trust and takes care of the job.
Chips and energy.
I mean, this one is crazy. I think that the conservative estimates are that we need 20 gigawatts of power servicing data centers, which I think is about like 5 Chicago's worth of energy in the next, call it 2 or 3 years. So that's why you're seeing all this news about nuclear, a lot of nuclear production, nuclear fission production being built up. I mean, the energy and chip your requirements are massive, and it relates to the last point, which is the chips. So right now, 100% of the high-end chips that power AI systems are manufactured and fabricated in Taiwan, and there's a lot of geopolitical risk in that overall situation.
And so, to talk a little bit about, on the three things that you talked about: compute, algos, and data. How is China in comparison to the US, and what's happening over there?
Yeah, so the US put in, so roughly speaking, the US is ahead on compute for now. China's ahead on data, and then we're probably the slight edge on algorithms, although that also won't last very long. The biggest thing here is that the White House put in place, or the White House and the Department of Commerce put in place very restrictive export controls. So a lot of the NVIDIA chips are very hard for Chinese companies or the Chinese government to get access to. And that's been, that I think is, we'll see exactly what the long-term effects are, but the short-term effects is like preventing them from building large clusters of GPUs and really being competitive. The thing that I always worry about is like, I kind of like run through the scenario in my head over and over, which is if you had, these sort of authoritarian state actors, if they had access to, for example, if Putin had access to very powerful AI systems today, what would he do with it? Not good things. It's like very clear. He's in an active war. He would do very bad things if he had access to powerful AI technology. And so I think the like threat surface area is very real of what's going to happen if you have state actors who are somewhat totalitarian and have sort of these like very aggressive expansion plans, country expansion plans. Like what's going to happen if they get access to such a powerful technology? And so the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, like hopefully that's not their intention with this technology, but it's something that I'm concerned about for sure.
I wish we had more time. I'm going to ask you two or three quick questions. So one of them is AI regulation, AI policy, as well as AI safety. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that we should be more regulated, less regulated? What role should government play?
I think hugely important. I think government needs to play an incredibly big role. This is, we are creating an extremely powerful technology, and I think it is the role of governments to govern. I think that the free market is obviously incredible, and the reason we have all these innovations is because of the free market, and I wouldn't kill the innovation element, but the potential consequences of this technology are staggering, and we have to be very thoughtful about that.
And AI safety?
Yeah, I think that, AI safety now, it's like, it's almost like, it almost doesn't mean anything because there's just like, it's been such a buzzword over the past year. And there's so many arguments, some of which are like crazy and don't make any sense, but some of which are very real and plausible, which fit under the umbrella of AI safety. What I would say is like this scenario that I talked about, Putin getting access to very powerful AI, I'm extremely worried about that. And if that's AI safety, like that's something we need to be worried about.
So who you have over here and online is a lot of our customers that are using different technologies in the IT organizations. What advice would you have for them on how they should be thinking about AI and how they should be thinking about scale as they think about AI as well, if you want to put a plug in?
Yeah, no, I think that the very big picture thing for every enterprise, every organization to be thinking about is, how are you going to harness your data to build something that's like truly unique and build things that only you can build? Because I guarantee every enterprise is sitting on data that is incredibly differentiated and incredibly unique and specialized, and not something that that some startup is going to be able to replicate and generate or whatnot. So while there's all this excitement around AI in the tech world, and obviously it's extremely exciting, but I think what's going to be very, very exciting over the next, let's call it decade, is seeing how all the existing businesses, organizations, enterprises really embrace their own data along with this new technology to build totally magical things. And so that's something that we're excited to work with folks on. We're obviously very excited to partner very closely with Cisco and building a lot of this up too for all of Cisco's customers. And so we're pumped.
Hey, Alex, congratulations on building such a magical company in such a short period of time. Your level of pulse on the global economy, the markets, what's happening with AI is, every single time I talk to you, I learn something new. It's a pleasure to have you over here. Hopefully you'll come back again. And we're going to do a lot more together, so you're going to see a lot more of Alex and Cisco do a lot together. So thank you again.
Thanks, Jeetu.
Thanks, buddy. Great job.